Thank you. I call to order. Welcome, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you.
Mayor Marlowe is away, enjoying his summer fun with his class. So, as Mayor Pro Temp, I'll lead the meeting tonight. And I have two presentations have been added to the agenda. I need to approve it. The agenda has been amended. As so, can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I got an approval from Commissioner Coleman and a second from Commissioner Martin. Pastor Campbell.
What was the name?
Oh, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much. Pastor Campbell, I don't see him in. Commissioner Martin, would you?
Or right there in the second row will take care of it. Mark, we need you to.
Mark, would you do the invocation?
Extemporaneous.
I'd be happy to. Up here?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Make sure the.
Let's stand.
Phone's on.
Yeah.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here today in a free country and conduct the business of this community. We thank you for the freedom that we enjoy that so many around this world do not enjoy. We ask that your grace would be upon this meeting tonight, that you would grant wisdom for all the elected officials here, that this would be a peaceable and orderly meeting, that everything is said and done in this meeting would bring you glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'll say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah. Thank you very much. The first order of business will be a proclamation, and I'll read it. It's quite lengthy, so here we go. This is a proclamation of the city of Newberry, Florida, as Travis Parker Day. Whereas we are here today to express our appreciation to Travis Parker and honor him for his distinguished career with the city of Newberry and dedicated service to the residents of Newberry. And whereas Travis joined the city of Newberry's Recreation Diamond Sports Park in 2007 and left in 2008, then returned as a wastewater operator in 2014, then moved to facilities team, then became facilities supervisor in 2015. Whereas Travis began his leadership career with the city of Newberry in 2017 and as Director of Parks and Recreation and Facilities, and recently as Director of Capital Projects and Facilities, and provided invaluable leadership and guidance on many significant projects. And whereas Travis has been an integral part of leadership in the creation of and logistics for Westfest, Christmas celebration, Taste of Newberry, State of Newberry, Martin Luther King Day commemorations, and whereas Travis has demonstrated commitment to professionalism, development, including earning his certified park and recreation professional credentials and steering the certified public manager cohort through the coursework, and whereas Travis' service extends deeply into the community. Travis is respected by the Olympic and the Paralympic athletes, musicians, and their support teams, the Gainesville Sports Commission, the Alachua County Task Force on Recreation, athletic professionals, recreation participants of all ages, his extended list of co-workers and area of business, including having a menu item named in his honor. And whereas he has distinguished himself as a hardworking and dedicated public servant, at all times committed to demonstrating his motto, if serving is beneath you, leadership is beyond you. And whereas, on behalf of the entire City Commission, I want to express our sincere appreciation to Travis for his loyalty to the City of Newberry and acknowledge that Travis's impact on our team will be felt long after he leaves. Now, therefore, I, Mark Clark, Mayor Pro Temp of the City of Newberry, do hereby proclaim Thursday, June 27, 2024 as Travis Parker Day. In the city of Newberry, and I urge all residents and employees to join me and the City Commission in congratulating Travis on an outstanding career with the City of Newberry and wishing him many continued years of happiness and good health. I witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the great seal of Newberry, Florida, in the state of Florida to be affixed at Newberry, Florida, this 24th day of June, 2024. Congratulations, Travis.
job, Travis. Thank you.
Get a couple photos. Anybody else you want? It's yours. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I didn't plan anything, so I do want to thank you all for having me for almost the last decade. I appreciate the support, always have. Wish you continued success. Same with you, Mike, Dallas, the team. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. It'll be a long one, so you know at this point, if you really want to go, you can. You don't have to stay. It ain't his last one? Okay. So next up on the presentations, we have the lead service line inventory and FDEP compliance update. Rance, you introduce this and take it forward.
Good afternoon. We have a presentation tonight by Ms. Catherine Van Zant on an update on the City of Newberry's efforts to comply with FDEP mandate to conduct the lead service line inventory. Catherine Van Zant is a professional engineer with the Florida Wastewater Association, providing water and wastewater engineering services to utilities throughout Florida. She also serves as a Florida Rural Water statewide manager of the Lead Service Line Inventory Assistance Program to help Florida utilities meet the EPA and DEP requirements and upcoming deadlines. Here's Ms. Van Zant with her presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Rance.
Yes, sir.
Really? Forest Park Van Zant?
Somewhat. There's a regulation statewide, really nationwide, that is so impactful to every person in this room, every person in the state. It's surprising how few people know about it and how few utilities have really jumped on board with it. It requires that every building that's served by a water system, community, non-transient, pretty much any water system in the state, has to be checked up to the building and documented whether or not the water line going to the building is a lead line or not. So it literally affects almost every building in the state, and the utilities are required to do a great deal of work to comply with this regulation. It's an EPA regulation that DEP is implementing in our state. Because of that, and really because the word hasn't gotten out as well as it probably should have been regulatory-wise, a lot of utilities have not started working on it, haven't understood it, and your utility is actually unique in the state. They have educated themselves about it, jumped on board, done quite a bit of work, and so I'm here today to explain to you what it is and what's been happening here in Newberry that is really somewhat unique in how well, not somewhat, but it is unique in how well it's been handled in the state. Now, let me make sure, whoops, okay. It's a big requirement, and all the systems have to provide this documentation by October 16th of this year under the lead and copper rule revisions. This was especially spurred on by Flint, Michigan, and what's happened in Flint, Michigan, and the idea is to make sure that we know any lead lines that are happening in our state and affecting especially our children. Now, let me see if I'm going to make this work. There we go. So the water system has to have documented evidence, not just for your own lines, but for your customer lines also. So you have to have documented what kind of lines you have up to your water meter and beyond your water meter up to people's houses, which makes it challenging. There's basically 4 parts to the regulation. A record search, you have to go through all the records that the property appraiser has, that the town has, determine what you already know about the lines, which often isn't a lot. Any lines that were put in after 1989 were after the lead ban, so they're okay, so that you find out the dates when they were put in and any information you already have. And then it's not satisfactory to just say, well, you know, so-and-so's seen the lines, we know that it's not a problem. You have to have documented information on each line so that you have to have gone out, taken pictures of the lines, have blueprints of the lines, something that you're going to keep for 12 years that has to be available to the Department of Environmental Protection when they ask for it. That is, when you have thousands of lines like you do in Newberry, that means that your staff has had to go out and physically check each line and take a picture of it in the city that was primarily built before 1989. Then all that information is put into an EPA spreadsheet, which is also extensive, and turned into DEP by October 16th. Any lines that you don't know what they are, or that you know that they're lead, within 30 days of turning it in, you have to send a notification to the owner of that home and tell them either we don't know what you have, or we know that you have lead, and these are the health effects. I'll show that to you. A lot of utilities have said, we're not going to worry about it, we'll just do 10 or 20% of them now, we'll do more later, and we'll leave those as unknown, we'll just report them as unknown. Your staff has done a favor for you that you don't realize, because what that would have meant is you would have had many, many residents notified, we don't know what you have, and it could be lead, it could be a health hazard for you, but rather than taking that easier way out, they're documenting every line so that they're able to turn this in and show that they know what the lines are in Newberry. For folks that want to look in their own homes, there's the way you know if it's lead or not. You look at the line coming into your home, you can look at the lines in your home, and if it's a metal line, you can scratch it. If it's shiny and a magnet doesn't stick to it, then it's lead. If it's copper color, it's a copper line. If you scratch it, it's a dull gray, and it is magnetic, then it's galvanized steel. Those are the three that you find for service lines. If they're unknown, you have to make publicly available, you have to notify the residents that have an unknown line or that have a lead line. You have to make the information publicly available, and you have to submit a replacement plan to DEP for what you're going to do to replace all of those lines. This is the public notification that you would have to give, especially if your staff had left lines as being unknown.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Are we responsible for the lines on the homeowner's side of the meter as well?
By the EPA regulations, you're responsible for reporting them. You're not responsible for paying for the replacement of them. You're responsible for notifying them what they have and for submitting a plan on what are the plans for the replacement of them. But you're specifically not responsible for paying for the replacement of them. Those rules are being revised right now, and I would not be surprised if with the revisions, the utilities end up having to take on more of responsibility for payment for them. The good news is we're with the lines that are being documented in Florida, we are not finding lead lines. It's very, very rare to find lead lines. But if you did, or if you didn't know, you would have to give this health language out to the homeowners and make it available to the residents of the health effects on children and what lead exposure will do to them.
Ms. Van Zandt,
Yes,
so
sir.
does this program have to be completed by October of 2024 in this whole city?
It
And we're
does.
just finding out
No, that's what's.
we're just getting the presentation.
You're
You know
just
about it,
getting the
Rance?
presentation.
How long we been doing it?
See that page there?
So, but then this has to be reported by October.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's why I wasn't asked to
Yeah.
laud your utilities department, but because I work with utilities departments all
Yes,
over
ma'am.
the state, I'm telling you the difference. There are a lot of commissions that I'm standing before right now who are saying that, we're just now finding out about it, and the answer is, yeah, you're just now finding out about it, and you're going to be hard pressed to be able to get it done in
Yeah, I
time.
mean,
There are very, very few utilities departments in the state that started a year ago and knew about it and have already been working
but
on it.
like you said, there's really very few that y'all have found so far.
Have you
What
found
about
any
our
red
city?
lines?
Zero.
Zero,
And
yeah,
you don't find many either.
very rare.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am.
In other areas of the country, I wouldn't say that,
Right.
but here in Florida, we're finding very, very few,
Old galvanized.
yeah. And plus, Florida's been developed so much more recently, with a lot of PVC lines. So, I guess I'm summing up with congratulations to your utilities department. Your town this, as you can see, this is a big requirement. Your folks have been going out house to house to house to house, taking pictures in all of these meter boxes. So far, they've done 2,257 lines, and they only have 513 left to go. So they have literally gone to 2,257 homes to accomplish this for you.
Well, the 89 probably helps us on rents. We didn't boom in the old days. So that's good.
Yeah. Do you have any
Right.
other questions?
I don't. Anybody on the dais? Commissioners, anybody?
Good. What about people that are out in the rural areas, or are they subject to be checked also?
If they have their own well, no, they're not. I would recommend that they check for themselves, which is that why the picture of the pipes is up there. It'd be worthwhile for them to know for their own purposes, but if they're not on the public water system, they're not fall under this regulation.
Okay. Anything else? Questions? No?
And this also doesn't address lines inside your house, so it's worth having an idea of what the lines inside your house are, especially if you have grandchildren that stay with you a lot.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Van Zant.
A long time Leonard Skinner, Donnie. Which one?
I'm told we are related and we know each other, but I can't tell you there's a specific
No
relationship.
autographs. Did I?
Yeah, you don't want my autographs. I do play saxophone though.
Thank you, ma'am, for
All
the
right, thank you.
presentation. Next, we have a presentation, and I would like Commissioner Martin
Yes, sir.
would like to introduce our next guest for the Ballot Initiative, Amendment 4. Commissioner Martin.
No, not yet. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted to introduce Mark Mink. He's our state chairman for Protect Human Life Florida, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about Amendment 4 that's going to be on the ballot in November and some of the nuances regarding that amendment. So I had invited Mark to come after a discussion that he had with me about it because I think there's some really key elements to it that we need to be aware of as leaders in our community. Take it away, Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, thank you so much.
Good job on the invitation of the flag.
Thank you, sir. In addition to standing in for invocations on the fly, I do serve as the state chairman for Protect Human Life Florida, as Commissioner Martin shared. And I just want to share with you all of the implications surrounding this amendment. My desire is that Florida voters will make their decision based on being informed. So there's really only three positions that a Florida voter is going to be in when they cast their ballot in November. They're going to be informed, they're going to be uninformed, or they're going to be misinformed. So my objective is that we inform as many as possible as we can. Before we do, I want to reflect on a historical reference, because 2 years ago today, I think we all know the United States Supreme Court made history by striking down the Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion in 1973. So,
To advance your
oh yes, thank you.
turn it on and off.
There we go.
Okay.
So, almost a half a century after the Roe v. Wade decision was handed down, the Supreme Court of the United States responded in the case that we now know as the Dobbs decision. And in the end, a majority of the United States Supreme Court ruled that the United States Constitution doesn't articulate abortion in any way. It doesn't include the word, it doesn't include the concept, nor is there any right to an abortion conferred in the Constitution of our nation. So, in the court's ruling, the Dobbs decision, this was stated very concisely. Held, the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and to their elected representatives. So we've seen a lot happen since the Roe decision was overturned. And the first thing that we saw was that there were trigger laws that went into effect in 13 states across the country. Since that time, we've seen legislation on both sides of the issue at the state level. So this issue went back to the states, and now there are 50 battlegrounds where this battle is being fought. In response to the Dobbs decision and all of these trigger laws and all of this new legislation, the pro-abortion lobby has adopted really a new tactic, and we're seeing it across the country now, and it's state constitutional amendments. There have been 7 of these since the Roe decision was handed down, or the reversal of Roe. All 7 of them have gone the way of the pro-abortion lobby. So there has not been a single, what would be considered a pro-life victory. There has not been a single one since Roe was overturned. And so last year, we saw an organization appear on the scene that formed a political action committee that they referred to as Floridians Protecting Freedom. And their objective and they've succeeded in it, was to place a proposed amendment before Florida voters. So they circulated petitions across the state. They got the required number of petitions by the deadline, and the Supreme Court, in a 4-3 decision, the Florida Supreme Court, allowed them to proceed to the ballot. So we're going to see them on the ballot this fall, and it's Amendment 4. The amendment title is an amendment to limit government interference with abortion. So what I want to do in just the next few minutes I have remaining is explain really what's at stake in Florida. And first, I think it's helpful to look at some data that's available to us, because Florida is one of 2 states across the country that report abortion data not only by gestational age, but by reason. The reason for the procedure being performed. But a summary of it, if you look at 2017, you'll see the number of reported abortions in Florida was 69,102. And that has climbed every year since. And 2023, the current number is 84,052. Sometime this summer, we'll get the final number for last year. And that was a full year with Roe having been reversed in the state of Florida. So we see over 500,000 preborn lives that have been terminated in our state from 2017 to 2023. It's 3.5 million in Florida since the Roe decision in 1973. So there's a lot at stake. And when voters go to the ballot box, they're going to see something like this. They'll see Amendment 4. It will show to the voter that the attempt is to add a new section under Article 1, which is where our basic rights are listed in the state constitution. And you can see the language as it reads: no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health is determined by the patient's health care provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. And voters are going to be asked to vote yes or no. And if 60% plus 1 of Florida voters vote yes, then this will add a new section under Article 1 into the Florida Constitution. So it's really important for us to understand the magnitude of the proposal, because if this is approved by Florida voters, it's going to enshrine abortion on demand, generally at any gestational stage, into our state constitution, including painful late-term abortions right up to the moment of birth. And I would point out that in Florida, since 1975, it has been illegal to perform an abortion beyond 24 weeks gestation. That would become open with this amendment. So what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is use the language of the amendment to explain this. I'm not sharing my opinion. I'm sharing what the language says so that you can understand it. If you look at the closer look at the language, it starts with no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion. So essentially what this section of the language is indicating is that any law on the books currently in the state of Florida, or any attempt to legislate in the future by the state legislature that would serve to prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion would be unconstitutional. So a current ultrasound bill, or a 6-week Heartbeat Protection Act, or a 24-hour waiting period, or a parental consent law, any of those types of laws that have been passed by the legislature would be considered unconstitutional. And then it goes on to say, before viability. Now, this is one of the challenges with the language, is that they could have clarified the language by saying before 24 weeks gestation, but they said before viability. The problem is, and I've traveled the state talking on this issue over the last 5 years, the average Florida voter, if you got 10 Florida voters in a room and you asked them what's the point of viability, you're going to get a lot of different answers. Many people don't know what the point of fetal viability is. Some people think it's when the preborn child has a heartbeat. Some think it's when they're born. Some think it's when they're conceived. I've heard all of those answers. So when Florida voters go into the ballot box and they're asked to make a decision on this, are they going to understand what viability means? Now, the Guinness Book record holder is this little baby Curtis that was born on July 5th, 2020, at 21 weeks and 1 day at 14.8 ounces. So that viability is generally considered the point during the pregnancy where if the preborn child were delivered prematurely, that it could survive outside of the womb. And that's going to vary around the world based on medical technology. But in the United States, it's generally around 24 weeks. This was an extreme case, 3 weeks earlier than that. So this is the gestational stage that the language basically says that from the point of conception up to about this point in the gestational stage, that the abortion can be performed with no restriction and no law that prohibits, penalizes, delays, or restricts the abortion would be constitutional. It then goes on to say, or when necessary to protect the patient's health. Now notice that it doesn't say the patient's life, and when they say the patient, they're referring to the pregnant woman. So they're saying that when necessary to protect the patient's health, and then it goes on to read, as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. Now the other problem when you look at the language is you'll notice that there's no reference anywhere in this language to a doctor or a physician. It just says patient's healthcare provider. But there's a pivot section here that says or when. And this is really important to understand because or when essentially expands this to be the full gestational stage from the point of conception to the point that the child is born at around 9 months gestation. Because or when is what then opens up that window of opportunity for the abortion from the point of viability to the point of birth. And you'll notice, again, it's or when necessary to protect the patient's health as provided, as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. Well, in Florida, there's a very long list of healthcare providers. And just some of we've got acupuncturists, we've got dentists and optometrists and podiatrists and physician assistants and chiropractors. And the list goes on and on and on. So, for example, a dental hygienist is considered a healthcare provider in the state of Florida. So, presumably, if a pregnant woman, beyond the point of viability, was having a concern about her health, her dental hygienist could essentially suggest that she abort her preborn child, and that would meet the requirements of the language, and it would be a constitutional right for the pregnant woman to then have an abortion. Interestingly enough, a tattoo artist in the state of Florida is considered a healthcare provider. And so while I don't know that the objective of the writers of the language was to open it up this broadly, nonetheless it does open it up this broadly. Interestingly, of the 7 Florida Supreme Court justices that reviewed this language and had to approve whether or not it was clear and unambiguous, 4 of them said that they thought Florida voters could figure it out and there'd be no problem with the clarity. And 3 of them said that they believed it was misleading and that it was not clear to voters. The 4 that thought it was okay and would be easily understood are the 4 male justices on the Supreme Court, and the 3 females believed that this was not clear and misleading and was going to be misunderstood by Florida voters, for what it's worth. It then goes on to read that this amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. And the reason they put that in there is that Florida voters approved a constitutional amendment years ago requiring parental notification. So even if they wanted to get rid of that in this language, them would have not satisfied the single subject rule, and so they had to make an exception for it. So it's presented this way as not getting in the way of the legislature's constitutional authority. The problem here is that notification does not equal consent. And currently, there's legislation that says that a minor girl that is pregnant and wants to have an abortion has to have the parental consent of at least one of her parents. And that would go away with this amendment. The notification would not, but the consent would. And there's ample polling that indicates that parents, by and large, want the consent to be in place. So there's concerns over whether or not the average voter is going to understand the notification versus consent part of it. Because again, when you just look at the parental consent piece, that's currently a law that would prohibit an abortion. So if this were to be approved by Florida voters, it would be an unconstitutional law and it would not be able to be in effect, essentially. So as we reflect back on the rising rate of abortion deaths in the state of Florida, just in the last 6 or 7 years, and now that Roe has been reversed, and now that this has been basically kind of pushed back to the states, I want to wrap up by sharing this. And it was, let me just read it. In announcing the Dobbs decision, Justice Samuel Alito said that abortion presents a profound moral issue on which Americans hold sharply conflicting views. Some believe fervently that a human person comes into being at conception and that abortion ends an innocent life. Others feel just as strongly that any regulation of abortion invades a woman's right to control her own body and prevents women from achieving full equality. Still others, in a third group, think that abortion should be allowed under some, but not all circumstances. And those within this group hold a variety of views about the particular restrictions that should be imposed. Here's what I know from Gallup and Marist polls across the country. 90% of American voters do not support late-term abortion. Abortions where a preborn child can feel the pain of the abortion. That's generally between 15 and 20 weeks gestation. But this would open up abortion from 24 weeks through childbirth. I don't know that Florida voters really understand that. And I know that the abortion lobby is going to have a lot of money sharing the news of what they're proposing, and it will probably greatly overwhelm that of the pro-life side. So I'm doing what I can do to sound the alarm. This is our call to action, to just make sure that folks know, because again, as I mentioned, and then I'll close, there are 3 types of Florida voters. Those that are uninformed. That's most Florida voters right now on this issue. And there will be millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars spent messaging why Florida voters should approve this amendment. And you're not going to hear that messaging talk about gestational stages. It's not going to talk about painful late-term abortion. It's going to focus the Florida voters' minds on other parts of the amendment. And so there's going to be a lot of people that are uninformed, and I believe a lot of people that are going to be misinformed. So my objective is to inform everybody we can about the truth of the language so they can simply make a decision for themselves based on the truth of what it will do. And so I wanted to start right here in my home community. So again, Commissioner Martin, thank you for the opportunity to share. I'll answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I've got a little packet of some information that I'll leave with the clerk for each of you. Thank you. Any questions that I can answer?
Josh, go ahead. Commissioner Martin.
Mark, so right now, a child this old in the womb can be aborted, essentially. And it definitely would be if this passes, correct?
Well, right now, in the state of Florida, there's a Heartbeat Protection Act in effect that would protect that preborn child. Unless there were some other circumstances that are carve-outs in the legislation. But if the proposed amendment is approved by Florida voters, then that legislation would then be unconstitutional, and that preborn child could be aborted. Yes, sir.
Tony?
Clarify. So you said that here in the state of Florida, a tattoo artist is considered a healthcare provider?
Correct.
Here in the state of Florida?
That's correct. I'm not sure why or how, but they're on the list, and it's a pretty broad list. And again, if their language had said doctor or physician, it would have greatly narrowed the scope. But it doesn't. It says healthcare provider. And I think when the average voter sees healthcare provider, they're going to be thinking doctor or physician. And when they message, most likely they're going to be talking about, the government shouldn't be getting in the way of women's decisions between them and their doctor. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about doctors and physicians. But it doesn't really matter what is said in the presentation of the amendment. What ultimately matters is what the language is. I know Attorney Walker could testify to that the language is what will determine what actually happens, not the way it's presented, and not even the way that Florida voters think they understand it when they go to vote. So, healthcare provider. Any other questions?
None? Anybody else on the dice?
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, we appreciate you,
Thank you.
and go out and do your thing.
You still doing real estate?
No, sir.
Out of it?
Yes, sir. So thank you so much. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Y'all have a great evening. I've got another appointment, so I'm going to excuse myself. And y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have public announcements limited to 2 minutes. Anybody have a public announcement? Dallas, go on up.
A lost dog?
A lost dog or a yard sale or
Mine's
whatever
not
you got.
nearly as exciting. In accordance with Florida Statute 163.31801, notice is hereby given that at the August 14, 2023 meeting of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, the City Commission adopted ordinance number 2023-14, which established transportation and public building impact fees in all incorporated areas of the City of Newberry, Florida. These impact fees are imposed on all new construction that applies for building permits on or after November 14, 2023, and fund capital improvement and additions to transportation and public building infrastructure needed to serve new growth. Pursuant to the said adopted ordinances, all adopted impact fee rates shall be increased by approximately 10% on October 1st, 2024. The impact fees are due and collected as a condition of the issuance of the building permit at the rate specified in the ordinance. Ordinance number 2023-14 is available for review at the City Clerk's office located in City Hall at 25440 West Newberry Road, Newberry, Florida, during regular business hours. If you have any questions or require additional information about this ordinance, please contact the City Clerk's office at 352-472-2161 Monday through Thursday between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Thank you.
You know what, Dallas?
Wow.
You and the mayor must go to the same class.
Hi, Commission. My name is Travis Adair. I'm using today to announce that I wanted to talk with you in regards to the recent charter proposal. And I know that the status of it is not currently on the agenda for today, but there is budgetary things that are on the agenda, and this commission has voted to give a $120,000+ line of credit to a non-existent 501c3 who is going to potentially run an elementary school that you didn't win a vote on. I'm not going to waste your time with all my problems with the charter because I mostly want to talk about the news of what has happened in the last week, and I'm sure what is very shocking to everybody in this room and in our town about one of the primary architects behind this movement. We know from public records requests and from documents from Education First for Newberry that Joel Searby was the primary person, or
Hang
at
on a
least
minute.
one of them.
Let me just stop you for a minute.
Sorry.
I want to make sure that we're clear on this. This ain't part of our public announcement or charters. I'll just ask Mr. Attorney, is this something that we need to be discussing with a case going on in litigation and he's not part of our city?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is, of course, a legal matter for law enforcement and for our state attorney's office. This has nothing to do with the business of the...
We have no contract, Travis. Let me just hang on. We have no contract, no nothing with him. So you can cut your eyes. I'm just telling you, we don't have a contract. Mr. Attorney, do we or do not?
No.
Okay. Wait a minute. Just relax. So I'm just asking this, I don't know, Travis, Mr. Adair, that this is the forum for this, so I don't mind the conversation, but I don't know that this is it because he does not work for us. And in this announcement, it's for more along the lines of stuff we have going on in our community. So just.
Yes, it's not about the crime. I don't think anybody's disputing the crime.
We're not disputing nothing, but we have nothing, we don't have a dog in the fight with it either because he has no contract with us.
But you do have a dog in a fight in Education First for Newberry, the upcoming 501c3 whose board this commission has already voted on.
We understand that.
And $120,000+ line of credit for a non-existent 501c3 with zero plan whatsoever. In fact, to use your words, no contract on how that's going to be paid back. This is an incredibly relevant issue because, again, this entire process was started by somebody that we now know to be a pedophile. And I understand that this commission was not aware of that. Cannot possibly fault anybody for not knowing the truth about who that monster was. But you know now, and if you continue to offer lines of credit, and if you continue to support such things...
What's the line of credit and this got to do with what we're doing here? You're talking two different things here to me, and I will just say that the line of credit, we got a staff here, I've got a attorney here, we got our financial officer here, and everything we're doing in this staff and in this dais is legal. So are the accusations we're doing something wrong?
I have quite a few of those, but what I came here to say to you...
Well, I'm going to let you finish up. Go ahead and get your time.
Great, thank you so much. What I've come here to say to you is that obviously none of you knew about this going in. I believe to an extent there might have been some rubber stamping and not fully looking at the ramifications of what was happening. All of this work has been done by a man that we know now to have been a disgusting human being. It is now not only morally imperative that you now re-look back at potentially the manipulation that you experienced from someone that we now know to be a master manipulator and revisit your support of this movement.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. All right, any more public announcements?
These things have been happening at the end.
I'll be real short.
Yeah, we're not going,
I'll be real
we have,
short.
okay, go ahead.
Public announcement.
Okay, hang on.
You're getting really defensive.
Go
I'll
ahead.
just be
No,
real
no,
short.
we got time at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I just
This is
wanted to-
really not where we put
This
this,
is a
but go
one-liner
ahead.
guy.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ricky, I just wanted to say you should have trusted your first instinct. I'm about CRA. Thank you.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
wait,
What does that mean?
I don't know. We got, hey,
Oh, yeah.
we got time at the end of the meeting if you want to discuss it. So, so that was our public announcement. We got the consent agenda. Can I get an approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
You got that, Ms. Judy? Any questions on the consent agenda? Any questions from the public on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have a unanimous on the consent agenda. We're going to get into public hearings and ordinances. We have the FY 23-24 first budget amendment. Dallas will be taking this over. Dallas, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and City Commissioners. We have our first budget amendment for you this evening. Recommended action is that you adopt the proposed budget amendment. Before we go into the details of the budget amendment, just an update on where we are year to date. So we're about 66% through the fiscal year. By and large, across all city funds and departments, you are right on track. The graph that is in just incomprehensibly small font on the screen. The blue part is the percent of budget spent. The red part is the amount of budget left. Couple notable areas, streets and roads has a large unspent balance. Most of that is encumbered for road projects, most notably Southwest 4th. And then your fire department is continuing to wait on the new piece of apparatus that the
Which
commission...
one is that? Is it the big fire?
The brush truck.
The
Brush
what?
truck.
The brush truck.
Yeah.
I believe the chief said is coming soon. So moving in... Okay. Moving into the proposed budget amendment on the revenue side, we're proposing a couple of amendments, mostly for grants that the city has received, as well as your building permits continue to come in over budgeted amounts. Charges for services has to do with the increase in Waste Pro charges that the commission approved a couple months ago. On the expenditure side, a couple of the large changes here. are in the city attorney's office. That's for the special task order for the charter schools. There's $1.1 million transfer out. That is the use of the city's reserves for the construction of new city hall that the commission approved. The $192 that's in transportation is for the vulnerability assessment grant that the city received. The increase in economic development or economic environment is for the USDA grant that the city received. And then the increase in solid waste control is the offsetting side of the solid waste contract with Waste Pro. In your capital improvement fund, we have an $8.7 million budget amendment. That is to account for the construction of City Hall. So that includes debt proceeds from the bond issuance as well as the transfers in from all the various funds for the use of your reserves for that construction project. In your special revenue funds, we have a couple of minor changes. One of the biggest ones is some accounting changes. So we are reclassifying some intergovernmental revenues as taxes and then moving some impact fees out of special revenue into the enterprise funds at the recommendation of our auditors. And then you have your special revenue fund transfer out for City Hall as well. In your utilities, you have the offsetting side of that accounting change for the impact fees. In revenues, we have the sinkhole insurance claim for the wastewater treatment plant with offsetting expense for the sinkhole expenses at the wastewater treatment plant, and then the utilities portion of City Hall as well. And I'd like it on the record that I hate this picture, and the city manager put it into my presentation.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have it.
That's what I put in for the presentation.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll go ahead and read the resolution by title only, if you'd like me to.
Yes, sir.
This is Resolution 2024-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget and providing for severability, conflicts, and effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-25 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir.
I got a question.
Okay.
Seeing that it came up, none of the funds that we set aside to the school, elementary school, has been used. Are we correct there?
We have purchase orders outstanding. I don't believe we've paid any invoices so far.
How much money's out there right now?
In purchase orders?
Of the 100 plus.
120,000.
And that's for,
There's 110,000 to the city attorney's office for the application and project management, and there's a $10,000 PO to a school finance services, which is a specialty firm that works on budget and financial projections for charter schools.
okay.
Any more questions on that?
So moved.
Second. You got it, Mr. Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Farnsworth? So, we've got a motion to approve. Any questions, any more questions from the dais on this? Any questions from the public?
My name is Holly Adair. I have a question about the charter school funds. What is the plan to have this amount of money that was just presented repaid? The last city meeting, I believe, you stated that this would be repaid within 3 to 5 years. And the budget that at least has been publicly available through records requests has stated that the budget for the elementary school was $300,000 negative for the first year. I haven't seen an updated budget, so if that exists, then I don't know about it.
Let me, is that all?
But what is the plan to
Okay.
repay
We can answer.
this one? Yeah.
Dallas, you mind taking?
Mr. City Commission and Mayor Pro Tem, the plan is to draft a management and operations agreement with the 501c3 that would require repayment back to the city within a set time frame. That agreement is part of the task order the city attorney's office is working on to draft. And then, like I said, we have a charter school finance expert who is drafting the current budget.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Not really, no. If I can clarify.
Well, we're in the finite stages, so you understand that. We're in the finite stages of all this, so
I understand how contracts
hang
work,
on
yes.
one second. Mr. Manager?
I think that it's appropriate for the commission to ask questions that they choose to, but this portion of the meeting is public comment, where you receive comment like, I support the budget amendment or I don't. I think if we get into Q&A, then it may get us on a path that isn't really focused
Can we
on-
take this offline then to get the answers for
I can
them?
clarify my statement then, if it's not a Q&A.
We can. I just wanted to remind the commission.
That's
that
true,
This is
and I
public
thank you.
comment, not public
Right.
question.
Well, I did ask for questions, and that's
Okay, understood.
pretty rare that we get them like that, even on something like this, but because the budget has something to do with the school, I suppose, is,
Thank you for clarifying. I guess that I would like to say that I do not support this, as there is no contract, and it is spending taxpayer money without a contract and
let's
no
take
ability
this
to
to
repay.
the end of the meeting. Comments?
That's fine, but you asked if I had questions.
No, I know, but
And then he said I
really
could
the
provide a
questions are on
support or
our
don't
budget, is
support
what the
CRA.
city manager is saying here.
But he just told me I could say why I don't support it.
No. We will get it, though. Dallas, will you definitely take that for action and have an answer? Okay. Or Mike? Okay, so then we, all in favor? Aye. So we have a unanimous, Ms. Judy. Our next public hearing and ordinance is a wastewater treatment plant and construction line of credit. Dallas, Mr. Attorney, would we read this in first, and then?
We can.
We can. Let's just, would you mind reading in resolutions
Don't mind at all.
2024-27?
This is a resolution amending and restating in its entirety a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, authorizing the issuance by the city of not exceeding $10 million in principal amount of water and sewer utility revolving credit bond, Series 2024, to finance the cost of the acquisition, construction, and equipping of improvements to the city's water and sewer system, pledging the security to pay the Series 2024 bond, authorizing the award of the sale of the Series 2024 bond upon compliance with certain parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of the form of the attached revolving credit agreement between the city and the purchaser of the Series 2024 bond, providing for the repeal of inconsistent provisions, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-27 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir.
Dallas?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, City Commissioners, as you may recall, about 2 months ago, you authorized us to issue $20 million in a construction line of credit for the wastewater treatment plant. The purpose of that funding was to allow us to have cash flow needed during the construction of the wastewater treatment plant, as our reimbursements and draws from SRF and other funding sources tend to be 60 to 90 days behind. So the city required this line of credit in order for us to maintain sufficient cash in hand. At the time of issuing that $20 million line of credit, everybody was happy and FDEP was supportive. However, subsequent to us issuing the debt, DEP came back and changed their mind and required us to make changes to our loan agreement, primarily reducing the line of credit total from a $20 million total to a $10 million total, and also restating that system development fees or impact fees are included as pledged revenue to repay the loan. We do now have in writing from DEP that they are amenable to these changes and will accept their parity position with this loan. Seacoast Bank, the bank that won the bid, has agreed to the changes, and they've also agreed to keep all of their terms the same as we've worked this out with DEP, which was very gracious of them. We appreciate that. So we're asking your authorization to restate the agreement, to sign new contracts that reduce the loan from $20 million to $10 million, and change the pledged revenues. We do believe $10 million will be sufficient to provide sufficient cash during the project. So,
Commission? This one is having to be redone, so any questions of Dallas?
Tim, I'll say it so you don't have to. This is a force-placed improvement that we have to make on our system, required by FDP, and now they're like going back on what we've been trying to do, and this is just bureaucracy at its finest.
It's unbelievable.
Well, thankful to Seacoast that they kept their terms. They could have really done something different. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Dallas, we find out that the 10 million is not enough. Are we able to go back and acquire any more?
Yes, we would have to go through this process again with DEP to get another parity position. We do think 10 million is enough. Originally, 10 million is the number we were going to ask for, but we were encouraged by consultants to go for more. That's what you get for listening to consultants, I guess. So we think $10 million will be sufficient.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments on this? No, no
Don't
more
have a
bond.
choice
No
anyway.
more bond. No more questions here, so do it again. The motion to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
And it's unanimous. We will move on to number 7, the agenda item, which I think the gentleman has waited patiently for us. This is a ground lease agreement with Life Soils LLC for 15 acres at the site of the Newberry Environmental Park for the composting operation that we have been briefed on prior. So, City Manager?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We have discussed this opportunity numerous times before tonight, so hopefully there's enough background information there that there's a level of comfort with what the program is. Our recommended action is to authorize the city manager to execute a ground lease document. The lease document, as proposed, is in your backup materials, and that lease would be with Life Soils LLC. They're represented tonight by Ryan McMeekin. He's in the audience. Just a little background information. As you likely recall that when we treat wastewater, we end up with 2 byproducts. One is the treated effluent that we land apply. The second is a biosolid material. We also land apply it, but it makes its way uptake into grass that is eventually cut for hay. The treated effluent percolates down into the groundwater. So this discussion is about the biosolids. There are new regulations that have been produced by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection over the last 5 years that are going to become effective on us with our next permit renewal. And so we are planning for the ability to treat those biosolids with this new treatment plant expansion that's going on. But the new treatment will be costly. What most people are doing are thickening. They're taking a biosolid, which is the consistency of chocolate milk, and they run it through very expensive equipment, and they get it to the consistency of a mud cake. But very expensive equipment, and then we put the mud cake in the back of a dump truck and we haul it somewhere. The city estimates our cost will be $100,000 to $120,000 a year increased cost to our wastewater system. It's about 7% of our budget, so this line item right here would immediately come with a 7% rate increase, plus all the other rate increases that we find ourselves with each year. So as we were posed with this, we started evaluating alternatives. What can we do with biosolids disposal that was cost effective? And we identified an opportunity with Life Soils as being cost effective. So Life Soils takes wastewater biosolids and yard debris from the yard debris collection that goes to that our Public Works undertakes, or our electric department undertakes when it is tree trimming, or that Waste Pro undertakes once a week. And Life Soils takes that material and through an aerobic composting process convert it to a soil amendment. It's a high-quality soil amendment that can be used with turf and other crop. Has the benefits identified right there. And in our area, I'm particularly excited about that it will give our soils a greater capacity to retain water, and in theory will reduce irrigation requirements by the turf in Newberry if this product is applied in Newberry, and we will do a better job with water conservation if we're using a product like Life Soils on lawns in Newberry, Florida. However, the process that Life Soils has developed is only cost-effective in about a 75-mile radius. If they're having to transport materials further than a 75-mile different, then they no longer are the least effective cost alternative. So what I anticipate will happen is about every 75 miles or so, a life soils type project is going to pop up. And so we know that one is needs to be in north central Florida to handle the biosolids from Alachua County and surrounding counties. And Newberry has one thing that, say, the city of Gainesville doesn't, and that's available land to have a facility such as this. We also generate biosolids and we also generate yard debris, so we become a very natural candidate for partnership with life soils. Just to give you an idea of the location, we propose a 15-acre site for life soils to operate a compost facility, and it will be at the city's wastewater treatment plant site, the 200 acres we own there. They're going to be on the western boundary in the area that's been designated by the City Commission as the Newberry Environmental Park. And by being on the same campus with us, we'll be able to transport our biosolids to them without ever leaving our facility. But rest assured that this project will not run on Newberry's biosolids alone. I anticipate that we'll be collecting biosolids on this campus for all of the biosolids generated within a 75 or so mile radius. So that's kind of where they're located. It's a 15-acre campus that we've agreed to with them. It fronts County Road 337. Forgot my star, so now we have the star.
Mess Corky up, is it?
Right across the street from the mayor's house. Kind of close to across the street from the mayor's house.
far.
So some key components of the lease. It's a 30-year lease, a 30-year term, followed by 3 consecutive renewal options of 10 years each. And there is a 36-month notice for termination. This is the low-cost option for Newberry, but we understand that environmental technology changes and that new regulations could come down the pipe, and at some point in the future, this life soils may be switching gears. And so it would take us, we anticipate it would take us about 3 years to make other plans to have a cost-effective gear shifting and do something else with our biosolids. So that's the purpose of that clause. And then tenant obligation, the tenant owes the city nothing in rent. I'll let you read through there. They're going to receive all of our vegetative debris from our public works operations. I believe they are contracting with WastePro to get all of their yard debris, but they will get everything from vegetation management, from tree trimming, from the electric department, and every tree in a right-of-way that we prune up, we'll put them in a dump truck and we'll haul them over to their place to become incorporated in their compost. You have a question?
Yeah, Mike. So what does the utility yard do now with debris? And what's the cost in that? Sounds like we're saving money by doing this.
We would be saving money. We currently take all of our public works debris, things from the right-of-way, we haul it out to Southern Fuel Wood, who once upon a time took it at no cost, but world is changing, and so now we pay a nominal fee for every truckload. And we see that in our public works budget every year, and we've had that discussion. It's not a budget-breaking cost to the city to do that, but there's some real value to our residents that this biosolids and this yard debris and this compost will end up being in a beneficial soil amendment rather than as a waste product. And what Mr. Post does with it is mostly he processes it into mulch. And horse bedding, if it has any size to it, though I imagine it makes its way into some red bag in front of public supermarket. So they're going to take all of the city's vegetation management from right-of-ways at no cost to the city. They're also going to take all the biosolids residuals from our wastewater plant at no charge. They've also agreed to provide the city with about 100 cubic yards of compost material that we would use on our public recreation facilities. I would tell you that Ryan can answer this better than me, but most every turf, professional and college turf field in Florida, including the University of Florida, is using this as a soil amendment. It's a very good product. It's under the bag name Command. If you see it in your Lowe's, or I think they sell it up the road at the landscaping company up the road, it's called Command.
I wonder if that's the same as what the dairies, when they scrape over there on those.
I don't know.
If it's the same company, it's not
I'm getting a negative on that.
getting a negative. Okay.
The tenant obligations are to receive their utility service from us, to ensure that there are no objectionable odors. I would tell you that some people will advise you that composting is a very odorous process, and I would tell you that those folks are referring to an anaerobic composting process, which is extremely noxious and needs to be 25 miles from anybody. Aerobic composting does not, it has a musty earth type smell, and you kind of have to be on site to even notice it. It is not something that we anticipate is going to be an odor problem, but there is some language within the agreement to ensure that there are nominal controls on odor, that it won't get any noxious odors from the site. They will comply with all the city's regulations related to noise, odor, light, and vector nuisances, and they have agreed that they would maintain a 30-foot wide vegetative buffer bordering 337. The commission has asked us to do the same with the Newberry Environmental Park, so the only openings will be access roads, but we'll be trying to get a fairly dense vegetative buffer between that roadway and any activities that are going on the campus. Landlord obligations we'll pay retail costs for compost materials in excess of the 100 cubic yards. That we're going to, in addition to a 15-acre site, we're going to provide them an all-site stormwater retention basin. They're going to share it with us. We're going to design, permit, and construct utilities to their property line, and we'll be doing that as part of the extensions South 337. I got a feeling that we're going to be moving those extensions ahead of our wastewater plant construction. Looks to me like Life Soils will be moving by the end of this year, and we'll need to get those extensions moving. And assures them that the current land use and zoning on that parcel is adequate for the intended use. And another cool slide asking if you have any questions.
Josh, anybody on?
I do.
Go ahead, Monty.
Mike, so the biosolids from 75-mile radius is going to be coming to Newberry?
I anticipate that that's the range. That I believe it becomes not cost-effective beyond 75 miles. So things, Fort White, Lake City potentially, GRU I think that Life Soils is very interested in getting GRU's biosolids. High Springs, Alachua would all be trucked into the Newberry campus.
I'm not 100% convinced that's a good thing. I'm not so sure I would vote yes for this at this point in time, because either I need to know more about it, or...
What do we need to understand, Commissioner Farnsworth, that has got you hung up on that one?
I'm just concerned regarding the potential of all this biosolids coming into the Newberry area from other cities, and the possibility of any kind of contamination to our water. So
I would think that DEP or any of the other places have already looked at this for us to even do it.
Their campus is heavily permitted by FDEP. Runoff is
Very
controlled.
regulated.
They have a stormwater permit for those types of things. We don't anticipate any organic material making its way into the aquifer.
we don't anticipate a lot of stuff sometimes. That still
Understood.
happen.
Well,
like a concrete batch plant, they can't operate without a DEP permit, and the same with this. That's one of the tools that we have available to us, is to ask our partners in environmental protection to enforce their permits and the regulations related to these types of processes. But I can think of a number of industries, including Argos. Argos has an air quality permit from DEP that if we felt that they were emitting objectionable pollutants into the atmosphere, our vehicle wouldn't be to try to prevent them from doing the business that they do. It would be to get in touch with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and ask them to enforce the state regulations. We would do the same.
Are there any kind of wells in the area that are monitored, or how's that?
Absolutely. We have, I think Rance is gone, but I would say we have at least 8 monitoring wells on site on the campus, on the 200-acre campus, and we take well samples from them periodically, I presume quarterly, and we run them through a whole series of pollutant analysis to ensure that our operations on the campus, and that's not just this operation, but we're taking 500,000 gallons a day of highly treated effluent, and we're land applying it to the ground, and it percolates down into the groundwater. I think that the case could be made that similar pollutant potentially occurs in those, and those monitoring wells that I referenced is part of our assurances that that pollution is not occurring.
Now, the company Live Soils, they'll be using this 15 acres to make money for themselves.
Correct.
Are they going to be paying Newberry any kind of money for the use of that land?
No, sir, they don't pay rent. Their rent is zero, as I indicated in the slide deck. But the city gets the benefit of what in today's dollars is about $100,000 to $125,000 a year worth of biosolids disposal costs, 7% of our total wastewater budget. If this project goes 60 years, as it could, it's a 30-year contract with 3 10-year extensions, the savings to Newberry's ratepayers will exceed $10 million.
So we're going to be able to lower the cost of our wastewater cost to the citizens?
Commissioner Farnsworth, we've done enough presentations in this treatment plant that we are proposing to build the technology and the amount of pollutants that we are removing from this wastewater. The cost for that technology is extensive. We will not be reducing our wastewater fees. I think I can say that with 100% confidence. What a step like this is prevents us or assists us in not raising them to what they could be. Our just in staffing, we are going to go from 5-day-a-week staffing for 10 hours a day to 7-day-a-week staffing 16 hours a day. Our personnel cost will be somewhere between 2 and 3 times what we anticipate today. This cake making concept that I was telling you about is an expensive, energy intensive process. And that's for the biosolids. On the liquid side, we are adding chemicals that we've never added before, and we are turning motors and using power that we have never done before. So it is, in my opinion, it would be wrong to say that we would reduce rates. What we will do is offset and minimize the extent of rate increases. And I would also mention to the Commission that there are other facilities in the state of Florida that have already gone through what we're going through. And so we know that it's possible to get to the backside with a modest rate increase and not come out the backside with the highest rates in Florida or 3 times the average rates in Florida. But this is an exercise that your staff has been undertaking to try to ensure that it's as painless as it can be when we put this new treatment plant online. That's a great question, by the way.
No more. Commissioner Coleman?
So with live soils, we'll be able to at least get avalorum out of them by what they build there, right?
I am unsure as the answer on that. They are leasing property that the city owns. The contract is silent to them. But and if the commission says that needs to be a condition of the contract, it would increase their cost. I don't think it would be a ton. It would probably be a few $1,000s a year, and that would come back to the city. But I would say at this stage of the game, that the savings that the city is about to realize by entering this contract more than offsets the taxes, the property taxes that we might receive on this 15 acres.
Well, really, probably more of the, not avalorum, but the,
Equipment.
yeah, the equipment and the, whatever permanent structures they put out there.
I can't speak to that. I think, Mr. McMeekin can probably tell you, this isn't their first operation in the state of Florida. They have one down in just south of Wildwood, Bunnell or Bushnell,
Right.
one of those two cities. I've been on that campus. It's a cruder process than you may think in terms of a lot of heavy equipment, front-end loaders out moving material. There is some technology involved in it, but a lot of the heavy equipment is very crude. I don't have enough information on what
Well,
might
I'm
be
sure
taxable
they're
in
gonna,
that
because they're a
operation.
private industry, that they would still be getting tangible taxes on whatever they're putting out there to make money with that part. Maybe not the avalorum side, though. Yeah, that's it.
Commissioner Martin?
Mike, you mentioned the $125,000 of costs we're deferring, but you also mentioned two other things, which would be potential water savings, and maybe that's just kind of internal cost, but at least it's a opportunity cost where you can realize. But you also mentioned the 100 cubic feet of material that we have applied, which would defer us having to use fertilizers and stuff like that we're paying for too right now, right? Do you have any idea what kind of credit, so to speak, that gives us?
Yes, I mean, I haven't done the math on what the 100 cubic yards amounts to, but I would say that the new fields that we're constructing at Jimmy Durden Park, one was finished about 2 years ago, and one is under development right now. We have incorporated the Life Soils Command product in the upper 12 inches of that, and we see that it produces a stand of turf that is significantly better than what we put on the normal Newberry turfs elsewhere. So we expend a fair amount, I don't know it off the top of my head, in irrigation. I'd say the majority of our irrigation water is on sports playing fields, outdoor playing fields at Easton, and that if we can get, I think studies have shown, I think Ryan knows this, what type of irrigation reduction have y'all seen in your study? 75%. All right, well, 75% is pretty ambitious. I'd say 40% is what I would estimate with, but we think that the turf that we utilize this, we will be able to decrease our irrigation. It's probably harder to calculate than to just acknowledge that it's going to happen.
I got one more question.
Okay, hang on. You done, Commissioner Martin?
This here, we have to get rid of this compost.
Yes, sir, we do.
We don't have any choice.
Nope.
Correct.
Nowhere to go with it.
That is correct.
And DEP's making us expand our wastewater. So, I mean, it's like right with this here, we really don't have a choice. That was a comment, not a...
I had a question. Clarification. So the city could actually lease land to a private company? I didn't know that. Is this the first time, or has there been other instances?
Champions Park is an example.
County?
It's our land.
Okay, so then a private company could come in and go through the application process if it benefits the city?
Yeah, this is a partnership. I mean,
Okay.
in some cases, the commission may say, Mike, make this 5 acres available, issue an RFP and see what people want to do with it, and they're just going to pay us rent. In this case, we have a biosolids material that is expensive for us to dispose of, to the tune of about $125,000 a year next year. And we have an opportunity with this partnership to make those costs go to zero. And we also think that there's environmental benefit in this material, so we're helping our community utilize a more environmentally sustainable product. I firmly believe it's the conservatives that are leading the way in environmental stewardship. I said that for your amusement. I didn't say that.
Mike, I'll reiterate it because we're to be able to get on point here. The 125 savings, the water savings, the buying compost for our own city savings. So to me, there's substantial savings here. What if Ryan needs to get bigger? Do we have the land out there? I'm looking at the map. There's some room.
We have a little more room available on this campus, but as soon as we acquired it, we found plenty of uses for it at all. If this was a really robust operation and it offered some significant benefit to Newberry and to Life Souls, I think we could pursue an expansion of their site.
Okay, well, so is there any more questions on the Life Souls? I know we got a little bit of cinch, so I'll do a roll call. No, I'm going to do that. I'm just telling you up front. But no more questions. Yeah, so no more questions here. Any public comments on Life Soul? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Mazon?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yes.
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 So we are unanimous. We didn't need that after all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion. Motion.
Okay. Before I said it, motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Commissioner Mazon, Commissioner Martin. He was deciding.
Commissioner Martin made this
I don't have the eyes in the back of my head.
Hey, this is our first time pro temp mayor, so
We got a little bit on the questions for the.
Okay.
Let's do the revote. All in favor?
Aye.
So it's a unanimous, one more time.
Aye.
All right. Well,
Public comment?
no, not yet. Hang on, just 1 second, sir.
Not on this?
You want to run this thing? Hang one time,
Don't put it out there.
oh, you're
Don't
next.
put it out there.
You're going to be the next pro temp.
But anyway, welcome aboard, Lifestyle, Ryan, welcome aboard, and hopefully you do great things with it, and, do your thing. Evidently, it's your second endeavor as a big part, right? Second or third?
Yeah, 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're growing.
We're growing.
Good job. All right, well, welcome aboard. So after that, we are done with that. Comments, City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted to notify the City Commission that our AgTech project in part was featured in the business report of North Central Florida last week, and I conveyed that article to you. It's a very comprehensive, very flattering article about the City of Newberry's and our effort to develop an AgTech, Ag Food Tech Park. And I wanted to advise the Commission that we received a second application for a CDD, Community Development District. Today, this one was from the NC Ranch Development that was approved for zoning a month or so ago. The other one that is under evaluation right now is Westone PD. I anticipate that Westone PD will come first. It takes us somewhere about 6 to 8 weeks to get through the review, and we'll get faster as we review more and more. But I would expect the Commission will start seeing those CDD presentations in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And I will be out of the office the week of July 4th. I'll send an email with details. It's, I think July 4th is on a Thursday this year. So City Hall will be closed as well, and for those city operations. But I'll make sure the commission's aware of my whereabouts and who they can contact for any assistance they need. And finally, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just want to extend my congratulations to Travis Parker and much success in his new role with Alachua County. He's been an integral part of our team for about the past 10 years, and he'll be sorely missed. But anytime we're itching to give somebody a really, really hard time, we know where he's at. We'll have lunch, and we'll make sure that we denigrate him a little bit before we break from lunch. Anyway, he's a real fine guy, and real happy to see him have this opportunity with Alachua County. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes my comments.
Mr. City Attorney. I just followed up. Travis has been wonderful to work with, and it just means that you're making good hires, Mike. That's what that means. So, same thing. He's been wonderful to work with.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Congratulations to Travis Parker and Janine Mearnight.
Congratulations.
Nice, Janine.
She's smart, though. We don't give her too big of a head about her. I know she's smart.
Can't tell with all the hair.
Is that all you got?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Mazon? Do the joke?
Here?
Do it first instead
That's
of,
good.
the mayor's on this end tonight, so.
That's cool. No joke, but some cats are allergic to people. Just a little known fact.
I wish mine was.
He might be. So MLK had a senior prom that they had last weekend. That was a success. So if you guys wanted to see, I'm sure Tasha's going to post pictures for the city to see. And the Splash Bash was a hit. Some strange UPS driver showed up, decided to play in the waterfall from the fire truck and play with the bubbles a little bit. The next Splash Bash is going to be July 12th, right off of Seaboard Drive. So if anybody wants to get wet and have fun in the heat, cool off a little bit, come out. Attorney, I know, I see. Come out and see us. That's all I have.
What about the weekend, and can you elaborate a little bit on the concert?
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. So my bad. The Vibes on the Lawn. Thank you. Vibes on the Lawn. You forgot?
Vibe on the lawn.
No. Oh, okay. Vibes on the Lawn, it was a hit. It was we took notes down. What's surprising is with the sound coming out of the pit, you could not even hear it from the road. So did we get any complaints from any, because it was loud. It was loud. But anyways, yep, and a lot of cars showed up. Very nice cars showed up. A lot of vendors. Gosh, there was a lot of vendors from all over, from Georgia to Tallahassee, down south, Jacksonville, South Florida. They came, and I'm trying to think of, they had two artists. And then I had one artist that came out and did a little jazz single on the guitar acoustic ordeal. Yeah, but it was nice, very nice. Traffic wasn't bad, believe it or not, but it was good to have the cops out there with the lights going. It was very nice. So thank you for the recommendation. Thank you, Bo. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, perhaps Bose, for not loaning, but leasing out the property. And we look forward to another year. So after taking notes, we can only get better, bigger and better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Martin? That's American. How's they're out fighting for us?
I know there's a few people here tonight that's going to talk. So what I want to do is I want to state my position. It's the most tragic thing that happened to us here in Newberry. Nothing to do with the schools. I had never been on board with that bull junk anyway. But there's one thing I want to say. I'm bad about looking at Facebook and TikTok and all that. I don't know, some of it's entertaining, some of it ain't. But I just wish that the people out there remember that there is on the guy that's done this, or he's been accused of, he hadn't been, whatever it is. Just remember that he's got a family too. I mean, golly, I feel for the kid that this happened to, but then I sit back and I think, man, golly, what about, he's got 3 kids too, so, and then the wife, I mean, I don't know, but just, I wish that maybe out of all this, that maybe this will bring Newberry back together. Throw out the school stuff and just go on with what we were doing before this even happened. That's my feeling, but there is 2 sides, and those kids of the accused, I do worry about them too. I feel for them. And that young boy, I feel for him. So, that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Cole. Now we're for citizens' comments, so you got 5 minutes, and
So I don't have anything written down, but I wanted to kind of agree with you. I think, for once, I think it would help Newberry heal to kind of put this school stuff behind us. We could even make a motion to not loan them the money, because I want to put it this way. Say the guy that just talked about the soil stuff, right? Say we found out he was actually dumping stuff into the ground, right? You'd have to reevaluate everything he just told you if it was true. And I find myself having to reevaluate everything I was told by this guy that was in a leadership position. And I hope that y'all can kind of do the same, and it's like hard to admit when we were manipulated, right? Like, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I just, I want to say if we could reconsider that, that'd be great. And then I'm going to yield to them. Thanks.
okay, thank you, ma'am. Just state your name. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Annie Moscato. I just have a couple, to be clear that I understand, then directly from you, because I think maybe I misunderstood after the last meeting. So per Commissioner Clark, earlier in the meeting, the commission has voted, I believe unanimously, to provide a line of credit to a nonprofit, which I don't think exists, so that also could be incorrect, so I'm clarifying, without a contract, is what you stated at the beginning of the meeting. So per Commissioner Coleman's question to Dallas, the city already has an estimated $120,000-ish in expenses owed, so $120,000 of taxpayer dollars are already being spent despite there not actually being a contract in place. So currently, the commission has no legal recourse for recovering any of those funds? Would that be, is there any part of that summary that's incorrect?
Well, we're not going to debate.
Right, so I'm wondering, I'm making sure that's
After this, you
correct.
can ask our attorney.
Yeah.
He can
Okay.
tell you.
And so he
We
can
get clarification.
clarify?
Just say it, and we will get clarification.
Okay, that's my only, I just wanted to know if any part of that summary was incorrect, or if I had each aspect of that correct.
So I think what you said, I will just say that what I mentioned earlier, we didn't have a contract when Mr. Adair was talking. I meant the contract with Joel Survey.
Right,
don't have
okay,
the
so is there
contract
a
with him.
contract with the
That part I
nonprofit
don't
for
know.
the
We'll have to get
$120,000?
offline and get with the
Okay,
attorney.
I don't even know if the
And I can-
money's spent.
Not
well,
yet.
it sounds like it hasn't been spent, it sounds like it's been invoiced, but not paid yet.
So you got,
So I
3
can
more
ask that
minutes.
after the
yeah,
meeting? Perfect, thank you so much.
okay. Next.
Come on, man. I watch you on TikTok. Go for it.
I'll be very brief. Mr. Coleman, this is going to be surprising, but I really appreciate what you just said, and I agree. I think that one of the absolute best things that we can do, something that for the last 2 months since the votes failed at all 3 schools, is looking for a way to unify, and that has consistently not been afforded to this community. I think now is a beautiful opportunity to course correct. Again, I said it, I meant it. Genuinely, everybody in this community has to be stunned by such an act. and it does make us have to reevaluate everything. I've been doing it myself. So I am actually very heartened to hear that, Mr. Coleman, and I genuinely appreciate that. Finally, completely separate, unrelated to the charter stuff, but because it did come up in this meeting, just want to go ahead and say, I cannot wait in this November to vote in favor of Amendment number 4 and protecting abortion rights throughout this state. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any other, before we close?
Wait a minute.
Any other comments, questions, dais, the public? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.
We got
We'll take
2
5.
more.
We'll take 5 and then, or do you need 5?
No, I don't need
Just,
I don't
need
either.
Just take 2 and then I'll be right back.
night. I'm going to call the Board of Adjustment meeting to order. Chair Pro Tem Mark Clark has given me the gavel to conduct this Board of Adjustment meeting, called to order at 8:44. At this time, we'll have an approval of the agenda as published.
So moved. Second.
Coleman on the first, Maison on the second. Any discussion on the approval of the agenda? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Unanimous. Second item is the consent agenda, which consists of basically the minutes from the last meeting on April 22nd. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Mark Clark on the first, Maison on the second. Any discussion on the consent agenda, approval of the consent agenda? Any from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Are there any announcements?
Oh, pardon me. You did miss it, and so did I. You missed it because I missed it. Are there any announcements? Seeing none? Okay. He looks too official to be. Okay, the consent agenda is approved, unanimous. Yeah, we voted. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the next item is the public hearings and announcements, site development plan for Newberry City Hall. This is a quasi-judicial public hearing for Resolution 2024-19 SDP 2306, application by CHW and NVR Company, agent on behalf of the City of Newberry and IS Property Holdings. So we are entering into quasi-judicial proceeding. This meeting means that the commission will stop being a legislative body and will become a judicial board, which means that we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule we must follow concerns testimony. Insubstantial competent evidence standard must be met with the judicial board makes a decision. These standards states the following. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into the evidence. Giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. Now I'm going to ask the city attorney to read into the record the ordinance and resolution by title and number.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry serving as the Board of Adjustment approving the application for site and development plan to construct a 15,000 square foot office use and related site improvements in a public facilities PF zoning district pursuant to section 14.12 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations on land described herein consisting of approximately 1.8 acres lying within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2024-19 at the appropriate time. As
All
read
right.
by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Yes,
At this
sir.
point, I'm going to ask the clerk to swear in the applicant, staff, and all participants requesting to speak. They may be collectively sworn in at this time.
Please state your name, starting with John Paul.
John Paul Press.
Do you hereby swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You have been duly sworn.
Brian, do we have the proper spelling of your last name? You got it, okay. All right, very good. Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte communications, disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Ex parte communications are any conversations or transmission of information that may have bearing or influence on any member's voting decision. We'll begin to my right. Commissioner Coleman?
I'm on the property in my truck.
Okay. I think we've all inspected it.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm parked there. I see it every day, so it
Yeah.
won't sway my decision one way or the other.
Fair enough. Commissioner Farnsworth, same? Same for me?
No.
All right, very good. I will now explain our order of presentations that will follow for any quasi-judicial item before us tonight. We'll begin with a staff overview, followed by an applicant present application with no time limit, a staff report and recommendation, no time limit. There are no third-party interveners that I'm aware of. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, and this happens before the board asks any questions. The applicant may cross-examine. Staff may as well cross-examine members of the decision-making body through the chair, that's me, may ask any questions of the staff, applicant, and the participants. Final argument will be made by the applicant, and then staff related solely to the evidence and testimony presented at the hearing and introduced into the record. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. Deliberation of the application. After deliberations, a vote shall be taken to approve with conditions, continue, or deny the application. Mr. Perez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, John Paul Perez, Planning and Economic Development Department. The request before you tonight is, as the city attorney has read, a new city hall for the city of Newberry. Staff's recommended motion is to adopt the resolution approving the site and development plan. Site and development plan, as read in the title of the resolution, is 15,000 square feet of office and related site improvements. It also includes cold storage. Some of the improvements affect that property. This map shows the general location of the property within the where we are right now, within the city limits. Here's an aerial image showing the City Hall property, municipal building, as well as the cold storage in the aqua color. This is an image of the property as it's in its current condition. Here is the north elevation, which will be facing First Avenue. And this is it in plan view. The south elevation from City Hall, looking that way, north. That's it in plan view. Now the rendering east elevation and west elevation, and the west elevation in plan view. This is the proposed site plan that shows, what the improvements will be made, as well as the location of the building, parking amendments, etc. I'm going to go into some of the details that are on the plan, explain them in a little bit more terms, elaborate on what's happening on the site plan. Areas 1 and 2 we'll go into, and then again in aqua is the cold storage property, and I'll just identify some of the improvements that are going to be necessary for that property for the site to function as a single campus. So here's the site plan. The green dash lines just shows sidewalks that will be added around the site. The red and green arrows on the bottom right are ingress and egress to the site. There will be a drive-through window that we have currently that will still function on the new City Hall. And there you see the egress of that on the west side, and then on the east side is the ingress and egress to the parking lot. In blue is an underground storage tank. This is not necessarily part of the application, but that might move as we move through the development process to a more suitable location, so we don't have a repeat of what happened at Bev's in their parking lot with their underground storage tank. And that's for stormwater. Yellow is the location of the new building, and red is the new dumpster location, which will have a self-closing and latching gates, as well as an enclosure built around it, so we'll be out of sight. This is the cold storage property. Again, the limits of the property shown in aqua here, just showing traffic movement, some parking that's going to be added to the site, and also I wanted to highlight here the need for some easements, sidewalk easements, so pedestrians crossing on that property will have the right to do so, and access across the property for users of the City Hall site and again, more sidewalk being shown in green, and just general vehicle access shown in yellow. These are also parking improvements in the municipal building parking lot. It'll be, instead of being a northbound one-way with directional or what are those, diagonal parking stalls, they'll be southbound. And so folks entering 254th Street will have access to parking. Though that design is not final, I think ultimately will be with FDOT and their contribution or collaboration with the city for improvements on side streets between the two one-way pairs. So when looking at site plans, staff reviews site plans based on these criteria established in the land development regulations. The staff report included with the agenda item found that the proposed site plan was consistent with all and satisfies all of the criteria. Staff does find the request consistent with the land development regulations and comprehensive plan. And again, our recommended motion is to adopt the resolution. That completes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Great. Does the applicant have any presentation?
At this time, no. They're available for questions, so.
Okay. So staff reports are included, no third party. Any public comment limited to 3 minutes? Seeing none. Jean-Paul, you're obviously not going to cross-examine yourself. Mr. Applicant, you have anything that you wanted to add or contest what he said or anything? No. Okay. Okay. Members of the decision-making body, through the chair, may ask questions of the staff or the applicant at any time. Or does anybody have any questions at this time of staff?
Motion.
No.
What is the plan for the cold storage building?
Mr. City Manager, do you mind if I defer to you?
Absolutely. The cold storage building owner is planning to start work in the next 2 months on the shell. Getting the roof.
You didn't get sworn in.
You are.
I hate to be
So
picky.
very, very.
I hate to be picky.
Correct.
Do you want to pick up where he left off? No.
Yeah, you get that. I'll whisper it to you.
Okay. I'm not being led.
Build the shell in 2 weeks.
He'll build the shell in 2 weeks.
I mean, in 2 months.
In 2 months.
We get it. Got it?
Yeah. I was just curious. I mean, it's been kind of in the same condition it is for well over almost, 2 years now, so
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
if
a
they're
good
making any progress or they're going to sell it to the city or.
It's a good question. Any other questions or anything? Okay. All right. Any other further arguments or anything?
No,
Final
Mr.
arguments? All right.
Motion.
All right. And Mr. Attorney, could you remind the decision-making body the applicable law and factual findings that
It
must
is
be?
the competent and substantial evidence standard.
Okay. All right. At this time, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Clark. Any other further deliberations with the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, unanimous. Congratulations, Commission, staff.
CRA.
All right, we have any further business to be held by the Board of Adjustment at this time? Seeing none, we will adjourn. Don't go anywhere. We will immediately convene the CRA meeting as well. I'll call to order the CRA meeting at 8:57 with an approval of the agenda as published.
Second.
Commissioner Mazon, 1. Commissioner Clark, 2nd. On the approval of the agenda, any discussion on the approval of the agenda? Seeing none, seeing there's no public, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, unanimous. We have one agenda item here regarding a budget amendment, CRA 2024-01. Oh, I'm sorry, yep. First item actually is the consent agenda, which is the minutes from the last meeting. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Farnsworth with the first, Commissioner Clark with the second. Any discussion on the motion on the floor?
None.
Any public discussion of the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All. Motion passes unanimous. Now, the agenda items. City Manager, You have the floor,
Thank you, Mr.
Chair.
Chair, thank you.
I'm getting it.
You knew I was struggling. I was like,
Sure.
it's not the mayor, it's not the mayor, it's the chair. The chair, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, PowerPoint is struggling too.
I'm pitch hitting for Dallas,
Okay,
who
skipped out.
wasn't up to it. He's feeling a little puny. Not that I should have said that. Please disregard that last name. Strike that from the record.
I'm a little footprint too, can I go?
So, but we bring tonight a budget amendment. The recommended action is to adopt resolution CRA 2024-01. If I
The
believe
first one.
This is the first resolution ever considered by the commission from the CRA. But the budget adjustment is pretty simple, that there is a true-up on revenues received that was primarily to address an expense related to a prior employee's leave payout. That employee was funded out of the CRA. And so there's a healthy leave payout. We're making that adjustment. We're also transferring funds from the capital improvement fund for repaving the municipal building parking lot using fund balance. So that's from our savings account. And if you'll remember, the CRA isn't permitted to pay for projects that were in our CIP. So it's very limited in what it could pay for at the City Hall project, but a portion of a parking lot just so meets the eligibility criteria, and that's why it's being offered. Our funding matrix for City Hall has been pretty novel. Dallas receives a creativity award for finding all the different buckets that could spare a dollar to pay for City Hall, and the CRA budget is eligible to bear a portion of those costs. So that's kind of, and that's about $100,000. And if you remember, our CRA is earning in excess of $300,000 annually, and when approved developments like Post Woods build out and plan development that is moving forward, like the Cooley Wind property that has been sold and is under design, both of those are in the CRA. So when those projects receive COs, it should increase your annual revenue source from the CRA to in excess of $600,000 annually.
Okay.
But that's where we are today with this budget amendment, and recommendation is to adopt resolution CRA 2024-01.
All right,
Mr. Chair, do you want me to read by title?
get the words right out of my mouth.
Happy to do so. This is resolution number CRA 2024-01, a resolution of the Community Development Redevelopment Agency, CRA of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the budget of the 2023-2024 fiscal year, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing for severability, approving amendments to the fiscal year 2023-2024 CRA budget, and providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is passed. Resolution number CRA 2024-01 as read by title only.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Clark or Board Member Clark with the first, Board Member Farnsworth with the second. Any discussion, questions for Mike? None from the non-existent public. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimous. Item number 3, second agenda item, the downtown mural program. Uma, I guess you have this one. Come on down.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Chair. I promise I will not make it boring. It will have a lot
This
of
is
pictures.
almost blue and gold, this outfit. Almost.
Yes.
We'll give you a pass.
I am properly prepared for the Newberry presentation with a lot of pictures and a lot of amazing ideas. So
Okay.
bear with me. I'm doing the Newberry Community Redevelopment Agency mural project. My name is Uma Sarmishta. I'm a senior planner. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. Thank you, Mr. Mike, for giving me this opportunity to do the research and present today. I am very excited about this, and I hope I can make you all excited about this. So the main thing is to provide information and seeking feedback. In summary, in order to further enhance the aesthetic of Newberry CRA commercial district and thereby make commercial district more attractive for businesses, citizens, and tourists, staff requests that the CRA board consider authorizing the mural project on the walls of downtown and CRA district. The scope is to actually present some walls and some cost around there and how we will get the funding and all those things. And finally, getting recommended action is provide direction to the Newberry mural project under the CRA program and authorizing the city manager to execute and submit the Alachua County Art Tag matching grant. Let me talk in detail about those things. So why mural? We have seen mural everywhere, and we always think about why mural. And why mural is important for our city. We have a good history. We have our train. We have such a beautiful landscape. But who is telling the history? Nowhere. Nowhere in our wall we can see any history. The first day when I entered here, I was thinking about why these walls. There is a white wall. There is so beautiful walls, and we don't see any history here. I came to know about so much history in last 1 year about city of Newberry that I want to see those on the wall. I want the kids to know those things. So mural can transform dull wall and neglected area into vibrant and visually interesting space. It will tell the history. It will define our culture and value for the city, and also landmark. It will create a landmark. People will, like how in history we used to say that, oh, that wall with the train or that, I live next to that wall. So this is something which I think a landmark is important in our city, which is missing. And recently, I'm a sociologist and I look a lot into the data. Recently, I have seen that murals have actually decreased the crime in certain areas. They say if the place is more vibrant, if the place has more color to there, the heat index goes down, and that lead to decline in crime in that area. And there are data on that.
Almost there.
Yes. And also it improve overall perception of the neighborhood. There is a big study in Michigan which talks about a very vacant lot, and there was a trail and no one was going in that road, but then they painted it with the flowers, and now it has become a good trail with people going with their families because all the flowers are showing the direction to the people. It increases happiness. So public art, including mural, can be positive impact on a mental well-being and creating more stimulation and visually appealing environment, and that led to a better society and better place. So, and also recently our Florida statute have included mural in their wordings too. It has asked municipality to permit and regulate wall murals in the designated area. The municipality shall establish and enforce regulation for such area, which at a minimum set for criteria governing the size, lighting, and space of the wall mural. And actually, Florida State has now a lot of mural grants also. Not just the county, but the state has. The state need 1 year of art activity for you to apply for those grants. So, and there are a lot of resources. We have some amazing artists around in this area. This is one of the artists which I followed, and they have worked a lot in Gainesville, Visionary Fam. And they have recently started exploring Newberry too. Our Joel's Coffee Shop, they have that Newberry mural there. Then recently they have done on the animal clinic in 230 Spring Hill, yes. So they
Very
have
nice, by the way.
That is very pretty. Yes, I actually crossed that area, and they have created nice horses there, which look so beautiful. So yes, so that is another new project they have done. So this is their website if you want to ever go and check. So most of the pictures which I'm showing right now are from their website. Bear with me now because I have done some photoshopping with some of the walls in our city and see how it looks. So bear me with that. So first, which I thought will be a very good, will be a city annex building. And since we are planning for a one-way pair road, this will be while coming from that side, and this is the focus. This is not a big wall. We can start the experiment there. It's, I think it's 14 by 30, so around 420 square feet. And this is my wish to have it there. We can change it. We can talk to the artist. All the board member can see and what looks better, but this is what I thought. Second one is, which according to me is, as soon as you enter the city, you'd see this big white building, Vintage Market one. It's a beautiful, and then as soon as you enter, this is the first building you see. It's a huge building. It's around 85 by 20 square feet, 85 by 20, that is 1,700 square feet. So it's a big wall. And this is a great wall to show some nice history of our city with trains and everything. So I thought something like train and cattle and landmarks and all those things will look good there. Third one is the other side of that building, again the pharmacy building. This is a beautiful building, and now since we are talking a lot about getting a new city hall, improving that area, and then city is thinking about making this area as more public space for everybody, so I think this is a great wall to experiment again. And I think the square feet for this one is 12 by 50, so around 600 square feet. So next is cost and funding. We talked to some artists in the area. The cost they said was around $15 to $25 per square feet, depending on the wall and the details how we want it. So if we go with annex wall, it will be around $7,000 to $9,000. With pharmacy wall, it will be $9,000 to $12,000, and with vintage market, it will be around $25,000 to $35,000. It's costly. So, but there are funding available. There is a Alachua County Art Tag Grant, matching grant for small city for art project. The application is in the packet for all of you there. It is coming up soon. It's already online, and there is an application online right now, and I think 31st July is the last date of application. So what's next? So yes.
Board Member Coleman has a question.
You know what was in that empty lot right there, don't you?
Which one?
Before you got here?
Which one?
The one,
With the
Pharmacy.
Oh, this farmer's market.
No.
Do you know what was there before?
In the building.
In that building, we wouldn't have cattle in the state of Florida if that building that was there.
Oh, that's a good history. See, I didn't know that.
So what you got is cows with all four legs sticking out. But the screwworms was killed. That's where they figured out how to save Florida from screwworms.
Wow.
There you go.
But the building's no longer there. It went down a couple.
If we have some pictures like that from the history, we will get.
They're all in Planning's Drive.
So you want a massive screwworm on the wall?
Hey, history. What was on the other side?
Nothing.
No,
It was
pocket.
Right, no, that one right there.
This-
What was that store?
That
Is
was
it
an
a
old
store?
hardware store.
oh, that thing's been.
Been down
About 10 different things.
Western Auto hardware stores.
I thought the Western
Western
Auto was
Auto?
on the other side of
I
that.
think
Western Auto
it
got it
is
on the end
a-
at one time.
Was it at the end?
Harry Hardware.
Harry's ideas.
All right.
See, yes. We
Let's
need
get
more
back.
walls.
Let's
We
get back
Some
to
ideas.
the presentation.
And we need more wall ideas. Like I am very new to Newberry, but I'm sure you have all these ideas. So yes, looking forward for all the direction.
The deli.
So,
Just kidding.
so I think what we are looking for right now is basically develop a RFP, which is call for artist and a muralist. In and around we want more local people, so we will send out an application. There is a grant application, as I said, with Alachua County. Deadline is on 31st July, so we would like to apply for that. In meantime, we are also thinking about creating an art advisory committee who will sit together and discuss everything, but at the end, it will come to the CRA board with the pricing and with the art piece before they start any work on the walls here. And many cities have started adding policies in the city comprehensive plan and zoning ordinances, so we might look into that direction. If the board agrees, we can add some things there, because we have a very good open space and recreation element, and we are actually right now working on amending those things, so we can add a policy there too, if it's okay, and then zoning ordinance, so that it becomes more legalized. So this is the Art Tag Grant Program. As I said, this is an Art Tag Program aimed to improve Alachua County's art activity, to increase the community access to the wide range of diverse art experience, especially in the underserved community. Funding request for small city requires one-on-one match up to $5,000. And finally, recommendations. So yes, provide direction to the Newberry mural project under the city's CRA program, and authorize city manager or their designees to execute and submit the Alachua County Art Tag Matching Grant. And there my presentation ends. I'm here for any questions.
Board Member Mazon, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Is that up to 5,000 per mule?
No, it's city.
Total?
Yes. It's the city one-on-one grant. Yes. And the application is there in the packet for you to look.
I would just like to say, I think this is a phenomenal idea, because of driving around the city and seeing some walls like the ones you presented. I've just thinking of ways that could, make the city more vibrant.
Yes.
And I think this does it, so I'm excited about it. So I'm happy to move forward.
Uma, is the recommendation to just move forward with, you're saying just take direction. You've got 3 projects that you've spoken about here, but are you asking for direction to take them all in a lump sum? You've got private property involved here, looking at them all individually, or just taking the piece of it tonight of, hey, we're going to give you the head nod to move forward with the application and the RFP?
Yeah, so this is just an example walls. We don't have to go with all these. This is just to provide overall picture what we are looking for. After that, the walls and what kind of painting and things that will be coming in progress with the cost, if it's a private party involved, we have to get in touch with them. But this is just a first step to let everybody know that this is what we are thinking about, and then apply for the grant. If we get the grant, then we will move to the next step and get all those.
Okay, so this is the direction for move forward with an RFP, move forward with the application. Everybody understand that? I'm okay putting those together. Do we need a formal motion? Would you prefer a formal motion with that? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion at this time to have the recommended action of those 2 items. Mr. Mazon has one.
Second.
Commissioner Clark has the second. And any other further discussion on the motion on the floor? Mr. Farnsworth?
You know, Coca-Cola used to do the murals, and they would pay for it. I don't know whether that's an avenue to pursue or not.
But Coca-Cola would be a good one to put up there. You don't like that?
Unless you like Pepsi.
Every small town in the South had a Coca-Cola sign.
But we're Newberry, we're not every town.
That's back when
different.
That's back when Christ was a corporal.
We need to put tabs, a picture of a tab can.
No.
On the side of our building.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is...
Who made the tab logo?
I didn't.
My Aunt Jerry Charlesworth.
That's why we need one of those on the wall here.
There you go. So we've got those 2 items as part of the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, no public present here. The motion on the floor, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. I'm really excited. Thank you.
I'm excited.
All right.
Tim's excited.
That should be great. We'll go through comments. Executive Director, I have acting position there, I suppose. Or no, you're Umo. Are you the acting director?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am.
Oh, you are the acting director.
And I have no comment.
Okay, put that hat on and put, CRA attorney? Board, starting with my left? None.
I think we need
Board
a
member Coleman.
mural of Nubby store with the fishing poles. Remember the old, them cane poles went from here to that wall over
It sounds like board member may want to serve on the art advisory board. Are we ready to go?
Yep.
No further comments? Seeing none, we are adjourned.